What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the top 5 cards from Journey Together. Pre-releases have already started, and the first major event where Journey Together is going to be legal is going to be in Atlanta the weekend of April 11th. So a really exciting time in the Pokemon TCG, and we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 competitive cards from Journey Together today in this video. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that like button down below, comment what you think of Journey Together or what your favorite cards are in Journey Together, and then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow this channel. So we're going to be getting into the top 5 cards, starting with number 5, Volcanion EX. Volcanion EX is a basic fire type EX Pokemon with 220 HP and that scorching steam ability that says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon burned. Burn is a status condition in the Pokemon TCG that we haven't seen for quite a while do anything really significant competitively, but what it does is between turns, so during the Pokemon checkup phase, it does 20 damage to the Pokemon that is burned, and then they flip a coin. If heads, they are no longer burned. If tails, they are still burned, and then they will flip again on the next Pokemon checkup phase. So strong status condition. Sometimes doing that extra 20 damage can be certainly strong, and that's one of the things that we see with Volcanion EX here, is that it can be just like a very good damage modifier for any deck playing Latias EX. Latias EX, we got in Surging Sparks, and that ability gave our basic Pokemon free retreat. So if we have any deck where we're playing multiple switching outs, we can go into Volcanion EX, burn our opponent's active Pokemon, then retreat for free with the Latias EX, and then do damage with whatever we're attacking with, Miraidons, Raging Bolts, our Chaladons, those sorts of things. And then that burn status condition can be sort of a damage modifier for our attacks if we just need to get a little bit of additional damage from our Pokemon's attack. So Volcanion not really going to be used for that Heat Cyclone attack. Does 160 for 3 energy. That's not good enough, but that Scorching Steam ability is going to be where Volcanion EX shines, and there's a lot of different options for it. Another card that we get in the set is the Magmortar with the Magma Surge ability that says during your Pokemon checkup, put 3 more damage counters on your opponent's burned Pokemon. And so if we have multiple Magmortars in play, our burn is doing even more damage. So if we have 1 Magmortar in play, burn does 50. If we have 2 Magmortars in play, burn does 80. If we have 3 Magmortars in play, it does 110. Very unlikely to be getting that many Magmortars in play, but that can be very, very strong if we do stack a few of those Magmortars on top of just the Volcanion EX burning our opponent's active Pokemon. And one of the decks that we've seen do well recently in the Pokemon TCG is the Brute Bonnet, Badoo, Poison with Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, and Binding Mochis and those sorts of things to let Badoo item lock for additional damage with the poison. So Badoo can item lock for like 80 damage or more, depending on how the deck is constructed. That can be sort of translated over into this new format and Journey Together to be a burn sort of item lock deck. You could also include the Brute Bonnets in there still, so you could burn your opponent, you could poison them at the same time with Toxic Powder, and then Itchy Pollen them for 10, but then you'd be doing additional damage with the burn and the poison. That certainly could be a cool thing to do with Volcanion EX. Otherwise, it's probably just a damage modifier for decks like Miraidon to get that extra 20 damage from the burn status condition. But Volcanion EX, a very cool card. It's cool to see more status conditions coming into the Pokemon TCG. And I actually think that there's a lot of versatility to this card, how you could decide to use it. And the fact that we get the Magmortar with it to just increase the amount of damage from those burns, I think that can be very interesting. And I think this card could see the light of day in the competitive scene. But moving on to number 4, we have Dunsparce EX. This Dunsparce has 270 HP, stage 1 normal type Pokemon, has that Adversity Tail attack for 1 colorless energy, does 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. So if your opponent has 4 EXs in play, you're doing 240. If they have 5 EXs in play, you're doing 300. So that Adversity Tail attack can start to increase in damage output fairly rapidly. Like if you're playing against a Raging Bolt that has 2 Raging Bolts and 2 Ogerpons in play, you're doing 240 for 1 energy and knocking out a Raging Bolt or an Ogerpon. That makes a lot of sense. Very good. The other appeal of the Dunsparce EX is the second attack, the Drill Break attack for 3 colorless energy, does 150, and then this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. That means the Dunsparce EX goes through Mimikyus, it goes through anything that says EXs can't attack it, it will go through those. So there's a lot of decks in the new standard format that are thinking about playing the non-EX Dunsparce with the Runaway Draw ability as their draw support in this new post-rotation format. And so it's really easy for those decks like Goldango might be interested in playing that, or Charizard might be interested in playing that. If you're already playing the baby Dunsparce, the non-EX Dunsparce, you could think about slotting in this Dunsparce EX if your deck, like Goldango or Charizard, is something that has issues going through Mimikyus and Cornerstone Ogerpon EXs and different sorts of walls. You can use that Drill Break attack in those decks to get through those walls that your Goldangos or Charizards or whatever might not be able to get through on their own. So Dunsparce EX is good because it has good attacks, but it's even better because you have the baby Dunsparce that some decks might already want to play for that draw power. That makes it easy for them to slot in an EX if they want to use either of those two good attacks on the Dunsparce EX. And for that reason, Dunsparce EX is in here at number 4 on our list of the top 5 Journey Together cards. Coming in at number 3, we have Hop's Double, and this card has an insane ability, that Challenge Horde ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. We've seen this ability on Pokemon before. We've had it on Lycanroc GX. We've also had it on Umbreon VMAX, but the difference between this card and those cards is the Lycanroc was a 2-prizer, the Umbreon VMAX was a 3-prizer. This Hop's Double is just a 1-prizer, and so it's a liability on your board, or well, it's much less of a liability on your board than the other cards. But the downside of it is Lycanroc GX had pretty good attacks, Umbreon VMAX had pretty good attacks. You're not going to be attacking probably with the Hop's Double, but that Challenge Horn ability is very good nonetheless. Being able to use basically a boss's orders as your ability so that you can use a different supporter for turn just seems very, very strong, and I will not be surprised to see Hop's Double see a ton of play over the coming years. Where it fits in immediately in the Journey Together format probably fits best with our Caledon EX. That is a deck that really likes to gust every turn if it can, just to target down those weaker Pokemon EXs to one-shot them with that Metal Defender attack doing 220 damage. So that makes a lot of sense. Another appeal of the Hop's Double is we do have the Hop's Bag item card. Depending on what kind of deck you're playing, you could fit some Hop's Bags in there. And you just search your deck for 2 basic Hop's Pokemon and put them onto your bench and shuffle your deck. So it's a quick way to find our Wooloos if we need to. Just a lot of different support for the Hop's Pokemon, but Hop's Double is certainly a Hop's card that will see play in many other decks that are not just Hop focused. Moving on to number 2, we have En's Zoroark EX. And Zoroark EX is a stage 1 dark type Pokemon EX with 280 HP. It's got the trade ability that people will remember from Zoroark GX, where you must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability, and then once during your turn you may draw 2 cards. Very powerful draw support on this Pokemon, and it has the Night Joker attack for 2 Dark Energy. Choose one of your benched Ends Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. And we have some powerful Ends Pokemon whose attacks we can copy with the Ends Zoroark EX. First of all is the Ends Reshiram that has the powerful Rage attack that does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So let's say, for example, a Dragapult EX uses Phantom Dive and hits into our Ends Zoroark for 200 damage. Our Ends Zoroark can respond with the Night Joker attack, copying powerful Rage, doing 400 damage and OHKOing that Dragapult EX. So very strong sort of Rage attack there. Then we also have Ends Darmanitan. It's a stage 1, so it's a little bit harder to get into play than the Ends Reshiram, which is just a basic, but it has that Darmanican attack that does 90 damage to the active, and then you discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack also does 90 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Great bench sniping attack here, and without Manaphy in the format now, because we are rotating, it's even more powerful to be doing bench damage these days. So very, very strong attack there on the Darmanitan. And I think both of those attackers are the key to Zoroark's success. Zoroark also gets the Ends PP Up card. Yes, that is exactly what it is called. It is called Ends PP Up, and if you attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Ends Pokemon. So lots of support for the Zoroark, and with that trade ability to go along with it, I do think that we're going to be seeing some successful Zoroark EX lists coming out in the near future. The funny thing about this card, though, is I'm not quite sure how powerful the Ends archetype is overall, using the Ends Reshiram's and the Ends Darmanitans and the Ends PP ups and all that. It remains to be seen how powerful that will ultimately be in the standard format, but I actually think the Zoroark EX with that trade ability, that ability is so strong. We're just going to see decks that play End Zoroark just for that ability alone. Like, that will be their draw engine. We might not see that immediately in the format, but I think in the coming years we will be seeing a lot from End Zoroark EX just because of that powerful draw ability on there, as well as the other cards that it gets access to, like Ends Castle, which gives your Ends Pokemon a free retreat. But for all those reasons, Ends Zoroark EX and the accompanying Ends cards come in here at number 2 in our Journey Together top 5 cards list. Finally, coming in at number 1, we have Lily's Clefairy EX. Lily's Clefairy EX is a basic Psychic type Pokemon with 190 HP and the Fairy Zone ability that says the weakness of each of your opponent's Dragon Pokemon is now Psychic, and apply weakness as ×2. And it has the Full Moon Rondo attack for a Psychic and a Colorless, where you do 20 plus 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. Obviously, we have Area 0 in format as well, so we can expand our bench with Area 0 to increase the damage output of that Full Moon Rondo attack. But Lily's Clefairy is really impactful because one of the best decks in format right now is Dragapult EX, and Dragapult EX has no weakness, but now with the Lily's Clefairy EX, a lot of different decks are going to have a counter to Dragapult EX and a way to one-shot it more easily. Nearly any deck that plays Crispin could slot in a Lily's Clefairy EX and a Psychic Energy and power it up in one turn with Crispin to OHKO a Dragapult EX. It's also going to be very powerful against Raging Bolt EX, which is also a Dragon type that Lily's Clefairy will easily one-shot. And then along with that, the Lily's Pearl tool card comes out in the set as well, where if the Lily's Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card. So your Lily's Clefairy EX that just knocked out a Dragapult, yeah, that Lily's Clefairy could basically be a 1 prize Pokemon, because if they hit into it with damage with the Lily's Pearl attached, they're only going to be taking 1 prize card. Now, it is important to note that it has to be knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack. So if your opponent knocks you out with Dusknoir, they take 2 prizes. If your opponent hits into you with Dusknoir and then bosses around your Clefairy and uses Phantom Dive and puts the 6 additional damage counters on the Lily's Clefairy to get it to 190, they take 2 prizes. It has to be in the active. Well, no, it doesn't have to be in the active, but it has to be knocked out by damage from attack, not damage counters from an attack, not damage counters from an ability like the Dusknoir. So that's important to note. But Lily's Clefairy EX, very versatile card, can fit into a lot of different decks. Like I said, any deck that plays Crispin can slot in a Clefairy and a Psychic Energy to just find a way to one-shot Dragapult EXs and Raging Bolts and those sorts of things. And the Lily's Pearl just makes this card even more powerful, turning it into a 1 prize Pokemon. So very, very strong card here. I wouldn't even be surprised to see some Dragapult EX decks playing a Lily's Clefairy in their own Dragapult deck to counter opposing Dragapults. Just a very, very strong card. So that is our top 5 list of the top 5 cards from Journey Together. Let us know what you thought about the list down below in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content, and we'll see you guys next time.